Chapter 2. The Kingdom of God versus the Governments of Man. There is no greater responsibility than governing. The majority of the national and global issues we face today, such as hunger, health crises, wars, terrorism, racial conflicts, nuclear threats, and economic instability, stem from failures in government or religion. Humanity's ongoing struggle has been learning to coexist peacefully. Across every continent and culture, from Africa to Europe, Asia, the Americas, and beyond, history is marked by tribal warfare, racial tensions, and major conflicts. In all societies, a system of leadership or governance has developed to maintain order. Whether seen in ancient cave paintings, Egyptian hieroglyphs, or the pyramids of the Aztecs, the evidence is clear. Humanity has always sought some form of government. This inherent need for authority and structure comes from a divine mandate. Man was created to govern, and it is natural for him to seek systems that bring order to personal and societal life. Government is essential in every culture, whether primitive or advanced. It is rooted in the need for social order, starting from the family unit and extending to nations. This need for governance is tied to humanity's desire for relationship management and societal order. The Bible's first book, Genesis, shows that God's concept of government existed long before humans walked the earth. God introduced this structure to bring order and productivity to chaos. For example, in Genesis, when the earth was described as formless and empty, God brought order through his command, saying, "Let there be light." God's creation of humans was also driven by the need for management and order on earth. Genesis emphasizes that no plants grew until man was created to work and manage the land. God's intention for mankind was clear: to govern and bring order to the world. He gave man dominion over all living things, essentially commissioning humanity to establish government on earth to counteract chaos. The idea of government originates from God, and without proper governance, chaos ensues. The fall of man, as described in Genesis 3, resulted from humanity's decision to reject God's government, leading to social and spiritual chaos. Ever since, humans have tried to create their own systems of self-government, but these have failed to eliminate the disorder they face, both internally and externally. A profound insight from the Apostle Paul in the New Testament highlights this connection between government and creation. Paul wrote that creation itself waits for humanity to reclaim its God-given role, as the physical world suffers from the consequences of man's rejection of divine governance. God's original plan was to govern earth through humans who reflected his image. However, when humanity rejected this heavenly rule, they were left with inadequate human governments. An example of this can be seen when Israel, after leaving Egypt, was given the chance to be governed directly by God. They rejected this divine rule in favor of human kings, a decision that led to many problems. The fall of mankind didn't mean losing heaven itself, but the loss of heavenly government on earth. Looking at the current state of the world, it's evident that our planet needs a new or alternative form of governance. The spiritual, social, economic, and environmental crises call for something greater than the systems humanity has created. Jesus Christ offered a solution 2,000 years ago when he began his ministry, proclaiming, "Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is near." He introduced a government unlike any seen before, the kingdom of heaven, which is still the answer to humanity's need for effective governance. Jesus' observation highlights that the spiritual and social emptiness of mankind can only be truly fulfilled by embracing the kingdom of heaven. This kingdom is the sole source of genuine joy for humanity. When Jesus proclaimed, "The kingdom of heaven is near," he was presenting his solution to humanity's earthly struggles. The idea of a kingdom originated with God and was his intended system for governing the earth. This ideal kingdom is distinct and unique, offering unparalleled benefits to its citizens. It is such a perfect concept that only God could have conceived it, as it alone can deliver the peace, equality, and fulfillment that people desire. Human attempts to replicate this heavenly kingdom throughout history have often failed, leading to flawed, oppressive, and destructive forms of governance. Mankind's rejection of God's kingdom has replaced peace with inferior systems of government. Some governments may perform better than others, but all pale in comparison to God's government, the kingdom of heaven. Human government versus God's government. The Bible is frequently misunderstood, not only by non-believers but also by many who claim to follow its teachings. At its core, the Bible is about a king, his kingdom, and a royal family of children. Contrary to popular belief, it is not a religious book, nor was it ever meant to be one. Instead, it tells the story of a king who seeks to expand his kingdom into new territories through his royal family. Thus, the Bible is primarily concerned with governance and rulership. Government is fundamentally about creating order, exercising influence, administering resources, providing protection, maintaining responsibility, and ensuring productivity. Technically, a government refers to the individual, group, or organization that performs these governing duties, exerting authority over a specific region and population. God first established government with Adam, instructing him to manage, oversee, and protect creation. The concept of government, as we understand it in the Western world, has its roots in ancient Greece. The Greek term for government, kubernites, means to steer or guide, like a rudder for a ship. Without law and governance, society falls into chaos. Hence, government is the authority designated to create and enforce laws for a particular territory. Governing involves both power and authority, which are distinct but interconnected. For a government to function properly, both must be balanced. Authority is about responsibility, while power is about the ability to act. Authority empowers, and power exercises that authority. Without legitimate authority, power becomes dictatorship, leading to abuse and oppression. Authority ensures that power is used correctly. Authority is the cornerstone of effective governance. Without it, no ruler can govern successfully. In earthly governments, authority is either granted through elections or seized by force. For example, presidents, premiers, or prime ministers gain their authority from the people who elect them. In a kingdom, however, authority is inherent, stemming from ownership. This is key to understanding the nature of kingdoms. God's authority as king is inherent. No one gives it to him. He holds authority because he created the earth and everything within it. This is why Jesus could declare that all authority had been given to him, as his Father, the Creator, had the right to grant it to him. Earthly governments, by contrast, derive their authority either through democratic elections or by force. Only in a monarchy is authority inherent, with the king possessing power that he can bestow on others as he chooses. All other governments rely on voting or revolution to establish authority. In the end, all human governments are substitutes for the ideal government, no matter how effective they might be. Among these systems, we can examine various attempts by mankind to establish governance, with one of the most notable being the feudal system. Feudalism. Feudalism was a system of governance based on land ownership. In this structure, those who held land were known as feudal lords, or landowners, and their authority stemmed from their possession of land. During the early Middle Ages, when societies were primarily agrarian, land was the primary source of wealth and power. Whoever owned the most land held the most power, giving rise to the concept of real estate. Landowners were referred to as lords, and thus the term landlord came into use. The pursuit of land was crucial for those seeking power. The more land one owned, the greater their influence and authority. Those who controlled large tracts of land eventually became known as kings. In essence, becoming a king was tied to land ownership. This is where the concept of earthly kingdoms began, with a kingdom referring to the area over which a king or landowner ruled, exercising ownership and authority. Because the land belonged entirely to the landlord, private property for others was non-existent. The people who lived and worked on the land did so at the will of the king or landlord. Everything within the land, animals, resources, and all materials, was regarded as the personal property of the king or lord. When a king or lord was kind and generous, the people working the land enjoyed his protection and provision. Their labor made the land prosperous, and in return the king took care of them. Such kings attracted many to their kingdoms. Feudalism, as a system of governance, was derived from the original model established by God in the Garden of Eden, where Adam was made the steward of the earth. God's design was a form of feudalism where all men ruled as kings and lords over the earth, not over other humans, but over the animals, plants, and nature. However, when a landlord or king was cruel, the result was oppression and abuse, as the noble class controlled the lives of those on their land. Feudalism demonstrates the danger of giving authority that rightfully belongs to the King of Heaven to corrupt human rulers. When society shifted from agriculture to industry, the power of the noble lords eventually faded. Dictatorship. A dictatorship is a system of government built on the idea of divine authority, where certain individuals believe they are chosen by gods or destiny to rule over others. Historical examples include the Egyptian pharaohs, who saw themselves as products of the gods and believed they were destined to rule by birthright. Dictatorships have appeared throughout history and continue to exist today. Although they come in various forms and titles, their core structure remains the same. A dictatorship concentrates power and authority in the hands of a single individual who exercises absolute control, unbound by laws, constitutions, or societal limits. Dictators are often characterized as despots, driven by personal ambition and self-interest. They frequently focus on themselves and their desires, with self-worship being a common feature of this type of governance. Historically, dictatorships tend to be short-lived, usually ending in chaos or tragedy. No dictatorship lasts forever, as eventually the people will rise up and revolt. Dictatorship is a distorted attempt to recreate the original form of governance established by God in the Garden of Eden, where he gave Adam total dominion. However, Adam's authority was never meant to dominate other humans, but rather to rule over the natural world, animals, plants, and waters. Whenever humans attempt to dominate others through dictatorship, the inevitable result is rebellion and resistance, as this was never God's original plan for human governance. Communism. Communism is a system of governance that blends elements of dictatorship and land control. It involves the state seizing all private property and enforcing productivity through coercion and oppression. Communism tries to enforce principles of love and sharing through legislation, but these efforts fail because genuine love and care cannot be forced. They come from internal motivation and conviction. No law can achieve that. In my view, communism reflects an attempt by humans to recreate the kingdom of heaven on earth as originally intended for Adam, but without acknowledging the Creator. In essence, it is an effort to establish a kingdom without the foundation of righteousness. Marx and Engels, the founders of communist ideology, sought to empower the working class, proletariat, by removing power from the nobility, bourgeois. They aimed to take land ownership from the elites and give it to the people, advocating for a dictatorship of the people. However, the problem with communism is that it relies on humans to govern, and when people are in power, governments inevitably fail. Communism merely replaced one ruling class, the czars, with a new set of dictators: socialism. Socialism, an offshoot of communism, is another attempt to bring government closer to the needs of the people. In socialism, the state replaces the king and seeks to control society for the benefit of all. Like communism, socialism also fails as a system of governance. Absolute power corrupts, and as the state gains more control, it becomes more concerned with its own power than with the well-being of individuals. Democracy. Democracy, which traces its origins to the Greeks, is often regarded as the ideal form of government. Even Plato, who called it the fairest of constitutions, recognized its flaws. The principle of democracy, where rule is by the people, for the people, and of the people, is man's attempt to move away from despotism and tyrannical rule. It stands as a response to other systems such as feudalism, dictatorship, communism, and socialism. A closer look at Western democracy reveals it was a reaction against monarchies, particularly the divine right kingdoms of old. The American founders championed democracy and embraced Greek ideals, modifying them to fit their vision. America rejected the idea of a kingdom in favor of principles like independence, self-determination, and individuality. However, while these ideas formed the foundation of democracy, they remain contrary to the principles of the Kingdom of Heaven. Americans, having experienced corrupt kings, feared centralized power and created a system of checks and balances to prevent power from being concentrated in the hands of one individual. This fear of dictatorship drives Western democracy. Though it is the best form of civil governance mankind has created, democracy is still flawed. Its core weakness lies in its foundation of power by majority vote. While democracy allows for widespread participation and protects individual rights through checks and balances, it also suffers from the defect of majority rule. This means that morality, values, and legal standards are determined by the will of the majority, which can lead to the legitimization of questionable values or desires. In a democracy, power lies with the people, making we the people the ultimate authority over our own lives and destiny. This concept aligns with humanism, where humanity becomes its own standard for morality and justice. However, history shows that humans, left to govern themselves without accountability to a higher power, make poor gods. Democracy without God becomes an exercise in moral uncertainty, elevating human intellect and self-worship to tragic levels. Democracy cannot succeed without God any more than communism can. God transcends our political systems, and he has established his own form of government, which is far superior to any earthly form. From God's perspective, life and politics are inseparable, and he is at the center of it all. There is no distinction between government and spirituality in his design. They are one and the same. The first man, Adam, was given a political responsibility in the Garden of Eden, which was a mandate to govern. Thus, the idea of separating church and state or religion and government has no basis in biblical teachings. Everyone operates from a set of moral beliefs, regardless of their religious affiliation, which means both religion and politics influence each other. You cannot separate a person's belief system from their actions because laws themselves are rooted in moral judgments. Therefore, democracy can only thrive when it is anchored in a shared moral code that the majority agrees is good and just, forming the foundation of governance. In my country, the Bahamas, this moral code is constitutionally and nationally recognized as the biblical principles of the Judaic-Christian faith. This standard serves as an authoritative reference for governance. When a majority vote aligns with these natural laws and biblical principles, the vote is legitimate. However, if a majority vote contradicts these principles, that legislation becomes invalid. The flaw in democracy is that the majority vote can sometimes be wrong. Another issue with democracy is that it is not absolute. Its laws can shift with changing cultures. Citizens can be influenced to give up their rights, allowing those in power to take control. Plato warned that democracy would eventually lead to state control, and I believe that even democracy, with all its promises of justice and fairness, will ultimately fail. When human efforts fall short, we must seek a better alternative, which is the heart of this book. The Return of the King and His Kingdom. The solution is to return to God's original governing system, the kingdom concept. For those raised in democracies or republics, understanding or accepting the concept of a kingdom can be challenging. Historical experiences with corrupt kings have given kingdoms a negative image. Many people equate a kingdom with a dictatorship led by a family, which makes it hard to grasp the message of Jesus Christ. Jesus spoke of bringing a kingdom to earth with himself as king. His message was that the key to successful governance on earth is the restoration of a righteous and benevolent king and kingdom. This ideal kingdom, established by the Creator, is what humanity has been seeking throughout history. All human efforts to create a perfect government have failed because the original kingdom is what we have been searching for all along. Earthly kingdoms must recognize the kingdom of the Lord and Christ because this kingdom is superior to all other forms of governance. As we continue to explore this concept, the superiority of a kingdom over other systems will become clear. Even within the church, debates over governance persist, not realizing there is only one ultimate government. The world needs a benevolent king, and we already have him. We just fail to recognize him. God, who revealed himself in Jesus Christ, is the ultimate King and Lord by virtue of his creation of all things. No one makes God the king. His right to rule comes from his creative authority over the universe. His plan was to extend his kingdom to earth through mankind, who would rule under his authority as his representatives. When we submit to this loving and gracious king, he takes responsibility for us, not as subjects, but as family. This care for his citizens is known as kingdom welfare, where the king is personally committed to the well-being of his people. The concept of welfare in the context of a kingdom represents the king's dedication to ensuring the needs of his citizens are met. Unlike democracy, where welfare can be seen negatively, in a kingdom, it is a highly desirable concept. True kingdoms embody the idea of commonwealth, where the wealth of the kingdom is shared equally among its citizens. In contrast, no human government has ever been able to ensure equal care for all its people. Even democracy struggles with inequality, division, and social disparities. A true kingdom, however, ensures that the king takes personal responsibility for every citizen, providing equality and shared access to the kingdom's wealth. In conclusion, human systems of government are inadequate. To adopt God's original kingdom concept in our world, we must first understand the idea of kingdom colonization, where the principles of God's kingdom are brought to earth through his people. Principles. 1. Most of the national and global issues we face today stem from problems with either government or religion. 2. The human desire for governance and order is a natural reflection of the divine mandate given to us by the Creator. 3. Humanity's need for structured government arises from the necessity for social order and managing relationships. 4. The Creator's original mandate to humanity was to exercise rulership and dominion over the earth. 5. While some forms of government may be better than others, none can compare to God's kingdom. His government is superior to all. 6. Feudalism, as a governing system, was derived from the original government established in the Garden of Eden when Adam was given stewardship over the earth. 7th, feudalism highlights the danger of entrusting authority meant for the King of Heaven to unrighteous and ungodly human rulers. 8. A dictatorship is a form of government where absolute power is concentrated in the hands of one person, without any checks by laws, constitutions, or social and political structures. 9. Communism represents humanity's attempt to control both land and people through a dictatorship. 10th, communism tries to build a kingdom, but without the foundation of righteousness. 11th, Socialism replaces a king with the state, aiming to control society for society's own benefit. 12. Democracy is the most effective civil government we currently have due to its foundational principles and the system of checks and balances. 13. A key flaw of democracy is its core idea of majority rule, which, while empowering the majority, allows morality, values, and laws to be dictated by the preferences and beliefs of the majority. 14. The best solution is to return to the Creator's original model of governance, the kingdom concept.